There are a lot of very well-educated and intelligent people that are now saying tomorrow might be one of the worst financial days in U.S. history, maybe even the single worst, based on the tariffs that were announced last week by President Donald Trump. Now, before anyone starts typing, I've spent the last 2 to 3 days studying this entire issue and attending unto wise counsel, so to speak, and seeing all of the angles on this. And what this really boils down to is the president doesn't know what he doesn't know. And this happened in his first administration with healthcare, where he said he was going to do this and repeal Obamacare and do all this. And then immediately after getting into office, how many of you remember the scene where they quoted him and he said, "Who knew healthcare was so complicated?" This is the same thing, because there are so many different and disparate factors that are playing into this. Mr. Trump has only seen things from one angle. And there's something else that a lot of people who are even on his side haven't seen, and I'd like to cover that in today's video, something that I've looked all over X, I've looked all over all social media. Nobody has seen this particular angle of tariffs and what might be the result. Everybody saw the big chart with, all the different countries and what we were going to do. And Donald Trump's big argument is this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't his big argument, well, the U.S. has been getting screwed over all these years because they've been tariffing us and we haven't been tariffing them back, that kind of thing. If that's the case, and every other country out there in the world had the better end of the deal, so to speak, why is the U.S. by far the wealthiest and most powerful country on the planet? And all these other countries like Vietnam and Indonesia and these different little countries in Africa, why are they so dirt poor? If we're getting screwed over, you would think the gap over the last 50, 75 years would have been closing. We would have been getting poorer, they would have been getting richer. But that isn't the case. We have been getting richer, and they have been getting poorer. Just on the facts. And it has to do with the Bretton Woods Agreement, and we'll talk about this more over at Patreon. But this says it all right here. When China decided to react to Mr. Trump's tariffs, Trump came out and said, well, China played it wrong. They panicked. Who is Donald Trump to tell China what's in their best interest and not in their best interest to do or to not do for the Chinese people? You see, he had it in his mind of what, well, if I do this, they will do that. And if they don't do that, they're stupid. Well, you see, you can't go into an event like this with that idea that everybody out there is going to do what you think they should do, and that's why what you're going to do is going to work. Well, real quick, Unit Commanders, Brigade Commanders, Florida Maquis Patreon channel. We are going to have some brand new content up very, very soon, and we're going to wait and see what happens tomorrow. And based on that, we're going to have to make a plan going forward. I would highly advise getting your money out of the bank. I'm just going to say it right now. Tonight, ATM. Go ATM. Get your money out of the bank. Do what you got to do that. Transfer it. Even if you have to just go buy stuff. Just go buy stuff. Get your money out of the bank. Anyway, love to have you over at Florida Maquis Patreon channel. This is the two higher levels, the $10 a month level, the $15 a month level. We have 4 levels over there, 2, 5, 10, 15. Whatever level you sign up for, it is all fully refundable. First 90 days, no questions asked. First 3 days, no questions asked. First 24 hours, no questions asked. Go over there, kick the tires, check out the videos. If they're not worth it to you or have a financial issue, hey, absolutely. Part of me hopes I'm wrong on this, but I don't think I am. And it comes down to, you ready for this? This is going to blow your mind. It comes down to Game of Thrones. Florida Maquis, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Game of Thrones? How many of you remember, and this is going way back, it was season 4, episode 3. There was a conversation being had between a character named Tywin Lannister and his grandson, Tommen. Tommen's older brother had just died, and he was going to become king. And it was kind of in the weeds of why Tywin Lannister wasn't king, but his grandson was going to be king. It had to do with marriage. And the point of it being is that he was asking his grandson, what makes a good king? And they go through all the iterations of, well, there's holiness, and there's justice, and there's strength. And then it all boils down to that you can have all of these wonderful qualities, but if you have those without wisdom, you're destined to fail. Now, I wish I could play this 3 minutes and 14 seconds for you. It is 3 minutes and 14 seconds of the best TV I've seen in my lifetime. I would play it for every child within my sphere if I were you. If you have a young person, no matter what age they are, say, hey, I need 3 minutes and 14 seconds of your time. And this little blurb right here. Excellent, excellent teaching, based in biblical values, but also just in good, sound wisdom. And the weird part about what's coming is it happened before. I was 17 years old when Black Monday happened back then. And you can see how far we've come. This was, the Dow was at 330, 340 and plummeted literally within one day. The factors are a lot the same. But here's the thing, that biggest thing that I think Mr. Trump is missing. It's called fiduciary duty. See, what might be, and I know there's people already typing. What might be good for the country in the long run, the big reset you're talking about, we need to reset this and the debt, that, and all that, doesn't mean diddly to investors who have a fiduciary duty to do what's right now for their investors, especially those with 401ks. There are people out there that have a legal fiduciary duty to not play along with Mr. Trump's long-term reset game, because in the short term, it's bad for their particular clients. In the short term, it is illegal for them to do this. Fiduciary, for those of you that don't know, a person or organization that makes financial decisions on behalf of another party who is legally obligated to act in their client's best interest, not necessarily in the best interest of Mr. Trump, or what might be good for the U.S. as a whole, or the global reset and all that. You see, this is what Mr. Trump is not looking at. It's what he's not looking at, is that there's going to be people that are going to jump out of the markets, and just like with China, he's going to say, oh, they panicked and they played it wrong. Well, you know what? Not everybody has all the same interests. And this is going to probably come as a shock to a lot of guys. Proverbs 17:12. Better to meet a bear robbed of her cubs than a fool bent on folly. This is Bible. If you remember this thing with the women who said they'd rather meet a bear in the woods than encounter a man these days, because they've encountered so many fools. And there's a long list of why women said, you know what, I'll take my chance with the bear, hoping, the bear will move on to greener pastures and realize that, I'm no threat. Whereas the man can provide, 1,000 reasons to not trust him. We talked about the Patriot nurse, and this goes right along with it. She is master arms person. I'm not even sure what that title is, but master at arms, knows way more probably than I do about weapons. Armed at all times, wherever she goes. I believe she even said in one of her videos that she has a rifle by her bed at night, and that's fine. I'm not armed everywhere I go. I don't go out every single time armed, and there's a lot of times that I leave my back door open living here in Florida. Where I live in Florida is very safe. Now, am I trying to say that her fears aren't valid? Absolutely not. Just because my fears are what my fears are, and her fears are what her fears are, and they're different, doesn't make her fear wrong or irrational, and, the way I do things right. Same thing with Gen Vets for Truth in Louisiana. She had a really kind of cool little fun video where she was kind of wearing this sundress, and she found a neat way to conceal carry a weapon that no guy in the world would ever imagine. And it's from her TikTok channel. Once again, I don't, every time I go to the grocery store or go get gas or go do whatever, carry a weapon with me. I don't. Sometimes, not always. Looks like, the bad guys are going to have to figure out which day that is. But that's just, from living in Florida. It doesn't, my fear, or my lack of fear, I should say, doesn't invalidate their concern or their need. And that's what I'm talking. There are people out there that are going to be very afraid of Trump's tariffs and what they mean for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and their fear, and this is what Trump doesn't get, their fears are valid because they have different goals than he does. Even better, I know a lot of people think that I'm some all-time cheerleader for Ron DeSantis. He's made two mistakes in the last year or so that I think would illustrate this point. And one of those mistakes, I don't think people would agree with me on that was a mistake. How many of you have seen this thing with Governor DeSantis saying he wants to eliminate property taxes in Florida? Florida Marquis, how can you say that's a mistake? That would be a great idea. Do you know what would happen if we eliminated property taxes in Florida? Do you know what the first thing that would happen would be? The houses that were left for sale, every single one of them would be bought by Vanguard, BlackRock, or State Street. There wouldn't be a single piece of property left in the state of Florida. It is the only thing that keeps these companies from buying every single piece of property. And because there would be absolutely no property for sale, the value of that property, of those properties, would skyrocket. They would absolutely skyrocket. See, now I don't believe that Governor DeSantis, for 1 minute, wants to see people not have the ability to go buy homes unless they buy them from State Street or BlackRock or Vanguard. He's trying to save people. You see, what would need to happen is this. Retired people should be completely tax exempt. They've already paid their dues, meaning that there are property taxes up until you reach, say, 65. And then 65, after 65, no taxes at all. For me, I would say no taxes, no grocery taxes, no property taxes. You get a card that you can swipe at the gas pump. No taxes there either. That would be the ideal way to do it. But businesses like BlackRock and Vanguard that are buying up residential properties, heck yeah. In fact, the tax should go up 10% every year they hold it. That's what I would do. But you see, that's the thing. When you look at things in a very simplistic kind of way, sometimes it's not the right idea. Property taxes are the only reason. And let me show you this. There's a lot of liberals out there now that are applauding this. Florida leads the nation in the number of vacant homes with nearly 1.7 million homes sitting empty. Everybody's fleeing Florida. It has become just a wasteland of horrible... You see, that's a problem. Because people don't understand something. You ready for this? 1.7 million homes empty. Only 245,000 of them, however, are for sale. They're vacation homes. They're second homes. They're Airbnbs. They're rentals. They're not even for sale. Nobody was living in them to begin with full time. We're a huge retirement and tourism state. So as much as, Google and these AIs and the liberals all want to, see, it was only a matter of time before Florida collapsed. DeSantis, that'll teach his little red wagon. Has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. 245,000. That's not even a quarter. That's not even a quarter of the empty homes are even for sale. 1.7 at 245 is 1.5 million empty homes that just aren't for sale, that are just people's second homes or rental homes or Airbnbs or whatever. You see, this is the right idea. And this is what Governor DeSantis would need to come out and say. The people that he wants to take care of the people. Take care of the people, and don't attach it to the property. And then, remember that whole deportation thing? This is mistake number 2. Florida's MAGAs have scared so many immigrant farm workers and other kinds of workers away. Now that they're so desperate for workers, they are now lifting child labor laws. 14-year-olds in Florida can work overnight. 14-year-olds working overnight. Teenagers can work overnights on school days. And it ends guaranteed meal breaks for ages 16 and 17. An incredibly short-sighted and bad idea. But you want gang members here. We already have gang members here. We have gang members here that were born here, whose parents were born here, who their parents were born here, and their parents were born here. And there are gang members here. Nobody's deporting American gangs. I think we should. We could send them back to where they're really from. But once again, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that because that would require good wisdom. A wise king knows what he knows and what he doesn't. This, I'll say it again, this little 3-minute and 16-second clip, blurb, Tywin and Tommen What Makes a Good King, Game of Thrones, 4x03, Season 4, Episode 3, Breaker of Chains. Watch this. And it's funny, they describe one king in here that sounds a lot like Trump. And he wasn't the wise one. So, even if you're saying, well, long-term this and long-term that, and this will be better than, it isn't going to change the pain. It isn't going to change the pain. And for the wealthy, for the uber wealthy, it won't be nearly as painful. But for some, it's going to destroy a lifetime's worth of work. Everything, all of their marbles in the 401k, it's going to go away. And then those effects are going to have secondary effects. Those secondary effects will have tertiary effects. And it's going to snowball. Fiduciary duty. Write it down. There are people that have a legal obligation. They might agree with Trump, but they can't, in operation, tell their people to not pull their money out. Because if they don't, they're going to get sued. They have a legal obligation to act in their client's best interest, not in the best interest of what is long-term for the country that's run up a $35 trillion credit card. And I'll leave with this. It is not the unbalanced tariff game that Trump is whining about that has caused the problem the U.S. is in right now. It is profligate and unbridled spending in Washington, D.C. It has been unbridled and profligate spending in Washington, D.C. that has been the problem. It's not that we haven't raised enough money to run our country. We have just had people that every time extra money came in, they spent twice as much. There was never any way to get ahead. It is a spending problem, not a tariff problem. It's not a trade balance problem. And Donald Trump has no basis upon which to say that he believes some other country, especially China, that holds most of our debt, by the way, played it wrong. So, I will leave it there. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.